How are you?
Doing good. It is a beautiful Monday.
It is. It
Mhm.
is. Well, you look good. You look good, girl, with your popping curls. You look good.
Oh, I mean, it's good. Everything's great. It was a good Easter.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Did you go Easter egg hunting?
Oh, no. I was in the studio almost not all night, but most of the night. And
Hey, that's that creative part. That's them creatives. Y'all don't never sleep.
we finished everything, all our recordings. So I'm super happy. Yeah.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Yay. That's good. I'm so excited for you. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so what is been going on with you? How's life? How's everything? How are you?
I mean, what's not going on? It's awesome because this year has been a life-changing year, as have other years. But I think after 2020 and going through COVID and everything, it's like as soon as I finally am getting the strength to like be myself again and get out and do stuff where there was a time
Yeah.
very much a homebody and didn't want to go out. So
Yeah.
it's happening. It's happening. I'm going out, peeking my head out, and I've been working on projects and just kind of getting back to the swing of being a creative again.
I know, right? I know. The pandemic definitely, like, I think it messed all of us up, like, tremendously. It messed us
Yeah,
up, like, yeah, terribly. Mm,
an introverted extrovert now, officially. Yeah.
right. Exactly. And I feel the same way because I've always been an extrovert, but then when the pandemic came, I was like,
Whoa,
I
like
don't know about that.
did something to all of us. So I mean, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I want to start off by by asking you, um, do you believe in love?
Do I believe in love? I mean, I do. I think that each person has their own idea of what that means. And I know that's kind of cliche, is love is in the eye of the beholder. It is, but it's also a decision. So it really depends on your mindset and like what your examples of love are. And
Yeah,
um, I know so many people who their only example of love is being treated, and having like little visions of what it could be. And I think you make that a normality, then that becomes your idea of love. For me,
exactly.
I think love is just acceptance. And I definitely feel like it is seeing yourself through someone's eyes as a better version of you. So
Yeah,
it's like somehow they make you feel more beautiful, like even though you may not feel
yeah,
um
yeah,
yeah, and that's how you know you're around a good person, people who make you feel beautiful. You think you love them, but you love yourself. And it's just the reflection. If I was to give the best, that's a long answer, but
no, 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 that was great. And actually, you went into the next question, which was going to be, what do you think love looks like? Because
Mm,
so many people look at love differently. And like you said, it is a lot of it comes from what you see and what you're around. So what you're accustomed to, that plays a huge part. So would you say for yourself, how did you view love? Do you view love the same way now that you used to, or?
I mean, I think I was always kind of misled in love as a
Mm,
child, not because I didn't see people around that cared about me or loved me, but
right.
I saw examples of what love shouldn't be and
Mm,
somehow made that normal. So I would, later in my adult life, start dating people that resembled that childhood kind of understanding
yeah. Wow. Yeah.
love. And I was going to say, have written so many songs about this, but um, in my creative process, I've even noticed that I'm starting to slowly understand like what my new version of love is.
Yeah.
I'm creating it, you know?
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's coming out in its own way now, a little more naturally.
Yeah. So did something have to happen, or did you experience different forms of love to make you to like how did you get from not knowing what love really looked like or is supposed to look like to now like you're starting to find like you're trying to okay, this is what really love really is. Like, okay, I'm liking this way.
I mean, it's funny because I still feel like we're always on a mission to find like what
Yeah.
works for us. I think I definitely have been in some relationships that have just I've gone in doe-eyed and, just shining with the joy of I can't wait for this relationship to start. And
Yeah.
I've left bewildered. I've left in bad shape. And I think dating narcissists or dating people that show me that love isn't all the same thing. Sometimes people show you pictures or versions of it, but don't actually love you. Love is sacrifice at some point too, and
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. Absolutely.
not sacrificing for you. And I'm not saying it's something that you are like sacrifice for me, but it's something that is like you're willing to do it because you care about this person. You love this person like you love your child. You love this person like you love
Exactly. And it should be almost automatic. Like it's just like a like second nature. Like
right.
I'm not doing this because I
Yeah,
have to. I'm doing this because it's like I'm sometimes I do things not even realizing that I'm doing it. Like you know what
right.
I mean? Like but that's where that comes from that love place. So I definitely get that. Yeah.
And as women, I think we are so nurturing naturally, and like
Yes.
there's like nothing we wouldn't do for someone we care about.
Exactly.
And I think knowing that and seeing how I've been in other relationships where I've really just poured my entire everything in, and it was easy to do, And
Yes.
re-
Yes.
like if somebody can't do that for me, it means they're just not in that love space that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I've been hurt. There have been moments where I remember having a friend. This actually was a huge thing. I was dating at the time. I was dating people, and
Hmm.
I remember I had my friend over, amazing performer, and he was like, what did he say? He was like, "Okay, I'm going to leave." We left. I just took him to his car, and I remember when I took him to his car, I was like, "Okay, I'll see you later." And I started walking back up to my door because it was like
Hmm.
I walked down the little driveway,
Right. Yeah.
and, and it was in an apartment. He's like, "Hop in the car. I'm going to take you back up to the door as I'm leaving. Like you don't have to just come out."
Wow. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, it's no big deal. It's just a
Right.
minute walk back up." Like he's like, "Girl, get in the car." and, and I realized I didn't really have many requirements. Um, and he's like, "Do you do that a lot? Like, have you done that? Like, I know you're dating now and stuff. Like, do you just let people just not do the extra mile for you?"
Hmm.
Because I'm trying to make love easy for people. I
Yeah. Yeah.
I realize in doing that, I'm taking away something from myself sometimes.
Absolutely.
That was like, oh wow, like I guess I have to require more, and I guess I have to protect certain parts but still stay open, and that's a
Mhm.
when
Very hard.
hmm
Yeah, very hard. And isn't it, like, so crazy how women can naturally give, 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 give,
yeah.
and do, 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 but then when someone does try to do back, it's like it's natural for us to be like, "No, it's okay, I got it." And it's really not that we're trying to be a certain way. It's not because in our minds, like you
Mhm.
said, we're trying to make it very easy for them. But at the same time, we're not even realizing that we're making it easy for them. We're just like, like I'm good. Like it's just a walk. I can just walk back up like it's not that big of a deal. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
And
So I definitely get that.
you have an intention, you have a good intention, you just hope others do too. And I think
Exactly. Exactly.
because you think, well, people will appreciate what I do, but not everybody does.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
that's the part that gets you afterwards because you're like, you realize that you're the only one loving everybody, or you're the only one putting these things in it because it's so easy for them to have. They don't have to.
Mhm.
They don't have to do anything to receive your love, and that means that you're not requiring for them to be better as well, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
We make
And I think mhm.
Oh, sorry.
No, 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 go ahead. Go, 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 go.
We I feel like we make our counterparts. So like I think women really do make men, and men really do make women, depending on what kind of a, if you are a man, if you are a woman, if you're a woman,
Mhm.
I feel like you see the potential in what a man can be, and you push them, you challenge them to
Right,
be that
right.
better person. And then on the other end, the same thing. It's like if you're a good man, and you have good intentions, then women will do anything for you. It doesn't, you know,
Exactly.
like,
Exactly. I won't mind doing it for you. I won't mind it. Like, exactly.
yeah,
I think that all of that plays, everything that you're saying plays a part in our expectations and what we expect for every relationship to follow. So, like when we go through, if we go through a not so good relationship where we're not really loved or we're not feeling loved, then it will emotionally burn us out
yeah,
to where, we're like, because we're giving, 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 and we're doing, but we're not getting poured back into. We're not getting that, we're not receiving it back. So then it gets us to a place where it's like we're going through each relationship, and it's almost like we're going through each relationship just like as a cycle. Like it's just like a redo of the past relationship. And then it's like I can't really give. By the time you get to a good one,
right,
you can't really give how you're
yeah,
supposed to give because you've given all to the wrong ones all these years, and you're just
mhm,
emotionally and mentally just burnt out. And I think that's where and I think it really messes us up because we tend to allow, that's how you allow us to push away good men, and that's how good relationships that would have worked or that could have worked don't because it's just we're burnt out. And it's not like we're meaning it. It's just we're
yeah,
burnt out. It's like I there's nothing else that I can give. I'm just tired. I'm tired of giving and not getting anything in return. And it can be very draining. It can be very draining.
yeah. That's wow. Yeah, and I'm glad you said it like that, because it's draining. And when you get to the, it's like you want your relationship with the person you really love and that really deserves it. You want it to be different from anything
Exactly.
you've been doing. And I think sometimes it's hard to be, it's hard because you've done everything. You're like, I've done everything.
Exactly.
And you're like,
Exactly.
person to create, a unique relationship. It's all trial and error. I've gotten to the point where I try to create things outside of the relationship that are a little more unique to us, so that
Hmm.
I don't feel like I have to pull or reference back to something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That helps a lot, I think. But yeah, great point. Yeah.
Yeah. So have you ever been in a relationship where you're like, I I know this is a good relationship, so I'm going to give it my all, and this is love, and I love him, he loves me.
Yeah.
And did it work or did it not work? What happened?
So, like, past reference or like future?
Um let's start with past relationship first. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've only really been in three serious relationships in my life, which I've dated a lot, but I think it's funny. I've had a perfect example, I think, in each man that I have dated, um, to help me kind of evolve. Like,
Mhm.
it was the perfect lesson. Um,
Yeah.
the first lesson, I think, was, don't lie to yourself about what you actually want from someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I lied. I think I lied to myself about it. I think the very first relationship, I definitely, I thought he was a good enough guy, and I didn't get into it for the right reasons. I think I just wanted to be in love, and it felt like it was just enough. And I think
Mhm.
that was, although some things are good as at just enough, some people are fine with that. But I'm such an adventurous spirit. I love to talk about aliens and crazy things, and like I
Yeah. Yeah.
us to like question who we are. And I felt like that was something I didn't get to do in that relationship, and I really wanted that. But the second relationship, I did get that. I got all of that. However, which
Mm.
so
Yeah.
however, he ended up being a narcissist. So he gave a lot of love bombing, and from love bombing to gaslighting in no time. And I think it's funny because you don't realize it, when you're in that kind of a situation where they really do give you everything, anything you've asked for, or anything, if they say, hey, like, what kind of a man are you looking for? And you say, this, that, and the third, they're going
Mhm.
to emulate that person. And that was the time where I realized I am absolutely like unclear of what love is supposed to be. And
Yeah.
that was the moment for sure. But yeah, I have been in a scenario where I've been so in love and then just ready for everything, sacrificed, and then ended up being just completely shocked by the person they became. Uh,
Yeah.
and I stayed for a long time, which says a lot about me too, if we're being honest. And when I left, I felt like I had to rebuild from scratch. And I think that's when I
Yeah.
realized, like, what do I want love to be now? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why do you feel like you stayed as long as you did?
I didn't want to fail. I think that was what it was.
Yeah.
I didn't want to fail. I had moved all the way from Canada to Atlanta, and
Wow.
I'd met someone I felt like was on my wavelength intellectually and
Mhm.
spiritually, and he seemed to be a great with kids, great with his family. Everybody loved him. So funny. And it was like too good to be true a little bit. And
Mm.
I saw so many great attributes of this person that when it went south, I didn't want to believe that was him. I didn't want to
Yeah.
wanted to believe that this was a temporary thing that was happening, that him being as mean as he was because he was in a certain mindset, that he was sad, or and I tried to see past it because I loved him more than his
Yeah.
anger,
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
disrespect. And I
Yeah.
realized that is a sign of disrespect to myself. And it took me a minute to realize, like, he's not going to change. I almost needed proof that he wasn't.
Yeah. Even though he was doing
Oh,
showing you signs, but yeah. Yeah.
evident. And I think I just wanted to see him through. I really did. And I'm like, let me, like, women, we ride till the wheels fall off sometimes, because we really, I could put my pride aside when I needed to. And I think the
Mhm.
part that makes it hard is I can put my pride to the side and see the whole picture and be like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, I really want to be with this person. Well, let me wait till he starts acting right, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but I'll be okay emotionally. I would, be powerful in that sense to, like, not take it too personally. But then I realized it didn't end.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, okay, this isn't going to change.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna take a deuces on that one. Yeah, I definitely get that. So like, okay, so in those particular situations, women, we tend to sometimes find ourselves, and even in that particular situation
Yeah.
or similar ones, we find ourselves wanting to love them through their pain, because
Yes.
a lot of times they're the way that they are for whatever they seen or however they were raised or
Right.
whatever the case may be. So we feel like we're supposed to be the nurturer and we love them. And
Yeah.
almost though with me though, because mine was almost like I was almost being his, I turned into being his mom. So it
Ah,
was more so like, I'm going to mother you through your hurt and I'm going to mother you through your pain and help you overcome
right.
and help you be a man, like, you know what I mean, and how, and be the man that you're supposed to be and the man that I want you to be.
Yeah,
When do you draw the line between not loving them through their pain and loving them through that, and just like, okay, we're gonna have to split and go our separate ways?
that's a good way to put it. I honestly, because I've asked myself that question, where's the line, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, somebody is just going through a hard time, and how do you know
Mhm.
somebody is actively trying
Exactly.
to put you down, like they are not your friend? And
Yes.
I think the line for me is when I look around and I don't see myself anywhere. That's when
Mm,
I know
that's good. Yeah.
taken from me. And I
Yeah.
think that's what I realized as I had woken up one day in another city, in another house, without close friends, without family, without joy. And I'm like, he got me, you know? And when less and less of yourself um, in a relationship, that's when you know it's because something's been taken from you. And I genuinely believe that we all go through things. We all have reasons to be who we are, but it
Right.
doesn't mean that it's my life's journey to heal you. I
Right.
love someone a lot and I can give them all the tools that I possibly can, but I can't make you decide that you're going to take the steps. You can bring the horse to the water, you can't make it drink the water.
Right.
And that
Right.
what I realize is I'm going to provide as much as I can as a person, as a friend, as a partner.
Mhm.
But the one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to make you do anything. I,
Right.
that is where I realize if I'm like forcing you to take me on a date, forcing you to respect me, forcing you to,
Yeah.
then it's kind of like you don't have it in your mind to do it on your own. That's not even a goal of yours.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of know where the line is it starts to feel like you're not you anymore. And
Yeah. And you're losing yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
you don't recognize anything anymore. And it starts to, yeah, deteriorate your self-confidence. And if you don't
Mm,
feel better
yeah.
with someone, it's not what it's supposed to do. I don't
Right.
I don't think you're in the right place. It takes a while. I stayed for a while, and I think, like I said, seeing it through. But there was a point when I realized I gotta go. Like I'm like I
Yeah.
got it. It happened, and like a little switch, and everyone's got their moment for that, and it'll come. Hopefully,
Yeah.
it doesn't come too late, but it'll come. And when it comes, listen to it and utilize the momentum
Exactly.
to get yourself into a better situation for sure.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
No, I was gonna say, ask what she thinks about the love that it's kind of along the same lines, where when you love somebody so much that you find like Alicia,
Mhm.
where you find your identity is your partner,
Mhm.
and how do you find your identity again?
Oh yeah, that's where I was going to go next. Um okay. Um so yeah, so I that's just amazing, and I think that it would you say that also that's why you stayed as long as you did, and that's why women we stay as long as
Yeah.
we do. But do you feel like that is also the same reason why women leave and go back? Like, some women, they're like, okay, I'm gonna leave, I'm leaving, I'm done, but then they're right back to, with not even with a different person, but with the same person. Like, they keep going back. That's like would you say that that's the same reason why?
Yes, but it's also another deeper aspect, which is familiarity, right? Uh,
Yeah.
we are big kids, and I say that.
Yes, I say that all the time. Yeah.
Oh, we are kids, and when we were kids, we loved familiarity. We loved eating the same foods, and we didn't like to, steer too far off the path. We were adventurous
Right.
in our space, but we weren't. I feel like children, they like seeing people they recognize. They like doing things,
Absolutely.
you know. And when you get into the loop of things, that resembles home to you, when
Yeah.
the system of just creating that habit. And I think we grow into that as adults, where we create our little bit of familiarity in a person,
Hmm.
a place, and I think it allows us to consider it home psychologically.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it doesn't matter if they're a bad person, if they show you clear signs that they're, not really here for you, it's like you feel,
Yeah.
well, my parents were hard on me and they still loved
Hmm.
me, my
Right. Right. Right.
and they resemble those actions to home and to love. Like, that's why I say, like, the identity of love, or what it means to you, it really stems from your childhood, but it
Your
also
childhood. Yeah.
is just like, it's a habit that's just been rehearsed over and over again, to the point where you can leave, but and like, I left and I did come back. Like,
Oh.
I see,
Yeah.
it took me multiple times to realize, it's like I needed proof. I needed to prove to myself what I already knew was true.
Yeah.
Needed I needed somebody to give me that, what's the word, reassurance, or like
Hmm.
just the facts, and
Hmm. Yeah.
that closure. I kept the window open because there was no closure, and I wanted it from that person, and I realized that person was never going to give me closure. I
Yeah. And it was almost like you were hoping for it. Like,
Oh,
I'm hoping, like, I'm just hope, I know he's
I
in
want
there. Like,
to know.
yeah.
Let me know. Like, either I love you and I'm just going through something, or I don't have any good intentions for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I almost wished for that. I wished,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I realized I'm responsible for myself. I'm responsible for the closure he's never going to give me. And
Mm.
uh, I have to remove myself when it's no longer serving me.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
and people don't remove themselves. So that's the thing, is when you realize it's not going to change and that you're the only one. None of us want to be the one to make the decision, but you
Yeah.
have to. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to. Yeah.
And I think at that point you have to really, that's where self-identity comes in at, because
Right.
you really have to know for sure that I'm worth so much more than this. I deserve so
Yeah.
much more than this. And you're not going to give it to me. So at that point in time, because women, we don't like to be selfish. We want to give. We give to our kids, our spouses, our partners, our friends. We want to give. But
Mm,
in circumstances like that, it's okay to be selfish. Be selfish. You're not getting what you need. Be selfish and
yeah. Mm,
go just remove yourself.
yeah.
Yeah. So now that you're done with that relationship, have you experienced the opposite? Have you experienced good relationship after that?
Yes. So if you really want to, uh,
Give me the details.
it's so funny because when you close one door, you open another. And I don't think people realize how true that is. Because I had, even though I wasn't with my ex, I would still see him from time to time. I think that was still familiarity, someone
Mhm.
I knew what to expect.
Yeah.
And um, every time I'd let him know, like, hey, because I didn't want to disappoint anyone. I was such a people pleaser back then. I still am a little, but
Yeah.
I feel like
We all have those tendencies. It's okay.
like, happy. I want to want good for me. I want to want good for them. So it's like when
Yeah.
um, I remember having a conversation with my ex, and this definitely has a point to lead to the next thing. But I had a
Yeah, no, go ahead.
my ex where I said, "Listen, I want you to be single. I want you to see what it is you're looking for." I said, "I don't even
Mhm.
know you anymore. I'm not even mad. I want you to give me space and let me be who I'm supposed to be, and stop
Yeah.
circling the block every few months to see if my
Right.
temperature is still the same. Um, and he acted like he respected it, and we had a cool little moment for a brief moment. And I remember we were in a parking lot talking about this, and then I said, "Okay, well, thank you. Like, just
Mhm.
let me be." I'm like, in 2 years from now, like maybe I changed my mind. I'll let
Right.
you know. I said, but right now, I'm like, I need you to just set me free, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the next day, he calls me. You want to go get a drink? You want to go?
Did you
I,
not hear the words that were coming out of my mouth?
he was. He didn't believe it.
Oh
He
my
didn't believe
god.
what I was saying. I was so serious, and I meant everything. And I felt that disrespect for my words, like kind of like I'm still gonna
Yeah.
tell you anyway. So I said yes, okay, I'll go get juice with you. And I told myself in the back of my mind, this is the last time I'm ever gonna see him.
Mhm.
We got the juice. He asked to drop me off at work. I said okay. He dropped me off at work. Um, he's like, I'll see you later. I said sure, I'll see you later. I went to work and I didn't see that man for years. Uh,
Wow.
but I decided that it's okay if he doesn't understand. I do. And
Yes.
it's funny,
Yes.
very close in time frame. Um, because again, we weren't together, but we kept in contact, and I just felt like
Mhm.
even being around, it was tough. Um,
Yeah.
so so what happened was I ended up, I worked at a hotel at the time, like in a restaurant, and I remember
Mhm.
coming out after work, and it was like a meeting we had. My friend was like, "Hey, do you want to ride home? I know you Ubered here or whatever. Someone dropped you off."
Mhm.
Oh no, it's okay. I'm gonna get an Uber, whatever. I'm just gonna get an.
Right.
She's like, "Are you sure?" I said, "Absolutely." And I pulled up my phone and I start looking at my phone. I'm like, "Ooh, my Uber driver's cute." Like I made a little.
Right.
And she was cracking up and she looked at it. She's like, "Oh my God, he is cute." And so he pulls up, and it was a shared Uber. I accidentally clicked a shared Uber.
Mhm.
So there are other people in the back, and
Mhm.
uh, they were men. So they were looking at me like, "Hey, girl," and I was like,
Right.
so I got in the front. I usually am so quiet. I put my headphones in and I keep to myself.
Mhm.
I say hi, but I kind of like heard a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm listening to my music, and they're all talking to each other. And then all of a sudden, the man at the back kind of pokes my shoulder, like, "Hey, where are you from?" Like, I'm trying to, I'm like, "I'm from,
Right.
I'm from Canada." Like, I almost didn't want to say that because I knew it'd stir up a conversation about.
Right.
I sound like such a mean lady, but. And I took my earphones out and I was like, "Yeah, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I, moved from music a while ago." And, the driver turned around, looked at me and was like, I moved here and to do music too. And I said, "Oh, that's cool." And I,
Wow.
"Where are you from?" He's like, "Arkansas." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." I'm like, I've never met anyone from Arkansas before. He's like, "Yeah."
Right.
Um, and so we ended up talking a lot. Like me and the driver just were talking the whole ride. And then we dropped off the last person that he had to drop off. And the person like opened the door and looked inside and was like, "You two should keep talking." And
Oh
we're
my goodness.
like, "Okay." Okay, girl.
Right. Okay, complete stranger that I don't even know your name, and you're giving me love advice.
The one that poked my shoulder.
Right.
So, so you two should keep talking. And I remember being like, "Okay." Like, and so we kept talking. When they left, it was like our opportunity to play each other music. So
Mhm.
I asked him to play his music. He's like, "No, you first." So I'm like, "Oh God." I went ahead and played the music. He looked at me like, "That's you?" I said, "Yeah, that's me." Like, I'm really shy when I play my music, but he
Right.
was like, "Are you kidding me? That comes from you?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Your turn." So he played me his, and he sounded like D'Angelo, Bilal. Like he sounded like it was like I was so shocked that he
Right.
sounded. I was like, "You should be famous right now." And so we laughed, we talked. We sat in my parking lot for like 20 minutes, just talking about stuff. And then
Wow.
I asked for his information. I said, hey, we should do a session sometime because I'm looking for people who can play and I'm starting a songwriting. He said, yeah, yeah, it sounds good. So the first time we met up, I kind of blew him off because that sounds awful. I sound like a terrible person. I blew him off. Not really. I went to a festival that night. I was so tired the next day and I just couldn't meet up. Um,
Yeah.
Little did I know, he had kind of kept himself in that area so that he could meet me because he lived so far away. He lived in like
Mhm. Oh,
and,
wow.
and he'd like stayed downtown all day to try and meet with me and I had no clue that
Oh, yeah.
where he was coming from. I just
Yeah.
told him, "Hey, I can't." And I think that probably made him upset, but he was still trying. He still said, "Hey, I'll meet up tomorrow." Cool. He shows up, so respectful, on time. I have burger juice on my face because I was over mad at this point. I was like, I don't care. Look, whole
Right.
hair crazy. I'm like, you need some help. You want me to hold something? He's like, no.
Right.
So I was like, just pass me the keys, you know? So I'm trying to like
Right.
carry stuff. We go upstairs. And yeah, I mean, the one telltale sign that he was a good guy or just something I've never seen happen
Mhm.
is I remember it hit like 6 o'clock and he started packing up his things. And like, I was like, where are you going? Like,
Right.
we're almost, we've been here for like an hour. He's like, oh, he's like, I didn't want you to feel like you had to kick me out. I don't know how late you have to be. He's like, but I,
He tried to beat you to the punches. He's like,
I, like, I didn't want you to feel like you had to like, be like, hey, can you leave? He's like, so I was just, gonna go around 6 and, I can come back another day. And I said, you're good for another hour or two. I'm like, I'm not pressed.
right.
It was just so respectful. And I was like, holy crap, this is another level of man.
Right. Right. Like, I ain't ready for all this. Wait a minute.
I was like,
Right.
oh, and it threw me off. I was like, wow. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, just hang out. You're good. I mean, until
Yeah.
that's fine. He's like, oh, okay. So he stuck around. We had a great conversation. We played each other music. And next thing you know, he was gone. But he did say something that gave me an idea he might be feeling me a little bit. And that was,
Mhm.
he was like, you kind of inspired me to write a song. Like, just the way we met, the way we were talking in the car. It was just such a good experience. He's like, and I tried to write something
Oh.
done yet, but like next time I see you, I'll sing you something. And I'm like, oh,
Oh.
and even that, my toxic trait is that I'll hear that and be like, look.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and so we saw each other maybe a few weeks later, and he, I think it was like he had offered. He's like, hey, if you ever need a ride to work, or because at the time I wasn't driving, I had just moved here not too long from, and I was still building up my credit and everything. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I was taking Ubers all day and walking. And he was like, do you want me to like, I won't charge you for anything. He's like, I
Oh.
just take you to work sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I held off. And he was consistent about it, but it wasn't in a creepy way. It was more in a like, hey, I know you're not driving. Like, I'm in the
Yeah.
area. If I'm in,
Yeah.
take you. Um, he was already taking this old lady like to go get her medicine like every
Oh.
week, and I was like, oh, that's so nice, and I didn't feel literally like, okay.
Right.
So he takes me to work one day. He's like, I'm gonna pick you up when you get off because I'll be back around this area around that time. And I said, okay. So my thoughts were, if this man is late, this is gonna say a lot about him. If he's late,
Right.
I'm just
Right. Of
saying
course.
late 30 minutes. And I was just out there like furious, like not furious, just you
Oh, I know. That's one of my things. Don't you be late picking me
know,
up. You
as
better be early.
late. Like that's
Right. Exactly.
so he shows up. He's like, I'm so sorry, and I was like, part of me was like, that's fine. We're just
Mhm.
we're just gonna. I'm going to go home and that's it kind of thing. I don't know why it was like that, but he told me that he was late because he had gone to the grocery store. He saw I dropped my noodles on the ground the other day. He went and bought me some new noodles for my house. And he said he also bought some things to cook. And he said, "Do you like broccoli?" I was like, "For what?" He's like, "I'm gonna cook." He's like, "You cooked last time. You made something for me." He's like, "And I really love
Yeah.
to cook." He's like, "Can I cook you something this time around?" And I was like, "You bought a whole bunch of groceries." Like it was like a big car. I was like, okay. And so we went to the house. He made me one of the best meals in my life. I remember just being like, this man can cook. He's fine. He's nice. Like,
He buying groceries. Ooh, he got money.
like
You know,
and so interesting. And a part of me didn't want to like him because I was so afraid of being disappointed. And I remember there was a day where I just wasn't feeling. He was being very kind and sweet, and a part of me just like, oh, I don't like that.
yeah, yeah,
And then one day I remember sitting in my bed and thinking to myself, man, you're always complaining about all these people not appreciating you a certain way. And somebody showed up and has beat all your expectations. And I'm like, I just was like, God, like, I pray that you let me love someone who loves me.
yeah, yeah.
Let me get past that part of myself that feels discouraged enough to be in a good situation. And I swear to you, I woke up the next morning thinking I loved him. Like I felt
Oh,
it was so weird. And and then our relationship just took shape after that. We spent more time together. We talked about everything. We bought cards, like to talk, the best self,
right.
like,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
just and we went to restaurants and like I feel like I really got to know who he was. I found out he had two
Mhm.
daughters. We spoke about that. We spoke about that. And now we've been together for almost 5 years, 5 years in September.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
still feel like he is the best. Like no one could ever do that man wrong. He is so kind. It is a real
Oh my goodness.
and imagine I wouldn't have given him the time of day because I just was so in my own head about love and what it meant. And I realized that just because that's what I'm used to doesn't mean it's what I deserve.
Absolutely.
I,
Absolutely.
so yeah, like to this day, like last night he was at my session and he helped me with the whole session. And he bought pizza for everybody. And
Oh my
I,
goodness.
it just, that's normal for him.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And he didn't have to be that way. And he was that way. And that's the part for me where I realized it all kind of flipped the other direction. And
Mhm.
now I expect so much. God forbid anything, happened with us. I just,
Yeah.
I know that the blessing of our relationship would be that I now know my value
I was ready to say that. Yep. Yep.
that I didn't before. And
Mhm.
I expect a lot more. No one
Yeah.
come to me with less
I know that's right.
if they couldn't. And I mean, they wouldn't have the access. And I'm kind and I'm sweet to people and I always respect people. But that's one thing when it comes to loving me, I know now just someone just has to show you what it's like to love
Yes.
so you can love you.
Yes.
And that was
Yes.
it. Yeah,
Yes.
that was it.
Yes. And see you and you said something that is so ironic because you said someone has to love you, show you by loving you so that way you know how to love yourself. But a lot of cliche people would say you have to love yourself before you can love somebody else. So how do you so it, but it so it's almost like how does that But I like the way that you said it though, because it's like if I don't know what love is and I don't know what it's supposed to look like, if no one ever showed that to me, how am I going to how am I going to do it?
Great example, and I've heard that phrase too quite a bit. Um, so love is what you make it, right? And I think I pull from things in my life to inspire what I think love should be. And
Mhm.
I might see a couple walking down the street and be like, I love what they're doing.
Yes.
Want I
Yeah.
want I want, and then I one day will be with my man, and I'll be like, let's do that.
Yeah. Let's try it.
You know, I wanna do a picnic right there. Like I like to take from my life experiences and build something from it.
Absolutely.
And so when people say, you got to love yourself first, I mean, we got to know what we're looking for. And I think you love yourself when you feel like you've accomplished something. So, like, and
Yeah.
you don't have to be with a man to be happy. It's a
Right.
to take from life experiences and let them reflect on you. So when I say that, I mean that if you're in a relationship, if you're going to be in a relationship, at least be in a relationship with someone who makes you feel like you are a better person. If you have
Absolutely.
that route, I'm not saying that that's the only way, but I do feel like if you're in a relationship with someone, if you don't feel like you're a better person around them, because really people are a reflection of you.
Mhm.
I always say it's like there's a mirror, those standing mirrors
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
that people used to have in their corner of the room, and it
Yep.
slides around.
Yes.
We're the people in your life are a standing mirror. They are looking at you and they respond based on what you say. You may
Yes.
in the mirror, but you're really reacting to your own feelings about something.
Yes.
Some people might scream at you and yell at you. It's because you triggered something in them that they saw themselves in you
Mhm.
and
Exactly.
realized, oh my God. And that's why I say, like, we're influenced by our surroundings. So it's like when
Absolutely.
look for things that make you see the best parts of you. So whatever mirror or person that is, you're getting back a beautiful vision of who you're supposed.
Exactly.
And that's why
Exactly.
um, see yourself in people, not just love and relationships, but in your friends and your family. It's
Absolutely. 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 So how do you get from going from how do you allow those walls to be let down because you've gone through these relationships
Mhm.
um, and
Yeah.
now you're in a good one. How did you that in between that little slot in between where you had where you built the walls because of your last one, and now you've met this great guy where the walls now have to come down in order for you to love?
Mhm.
How did you do that?
Now everyone's scenario is going to be different because we're
Absolutely.
places in our lives. But I think that when I was okay with failing, um, I think that's what allowed me to be a stronger person because, and I don't look at failure as a bad thing. Sometimes
Hmm.
failure is the end to something you need. You need to fail at a relationship that's not serving you. I think it's good to,
Absolutely.
or if
Absolutely.
you're a musician working in a restaurant, it's okay you're not the best at the restaurant job because you're meant to be doing this anyway.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
what I mean is, I think that there's a moment in our lives where we just want to be good at everything, and we want to be perfect. We want to have the best.
Yeah.
We want someone to say, um, "You're worth being loved." That's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
scary. Sometimes that's why it's like I want somebody to tell me I'm worth love right now.
Yeah.
Tell me that, and that happens with all of us, whether you're married, you're not married, whatever.
Right.
It's something we all deal with. Even men deal with this. So
Absolutely.
I think sometimes the best way to get that little in between thing complete,
Right.
like, okay, the threshold is allowing life to happen, but directing yourself where you want to be. Like,
Yeah.
about what
You
do I,
take the wheel. You take control of it, of your
yeah,
life. Yeah.
going to be what I wanted. But the things I can control is what direction I'm going in, maybe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the destination, I don't know, but I know I can go
Right.
and left and right comes with very specific details that
Yeah.
based on what I'm looking for, who I want to be. And I tell people this a lot, and this can offend some people. I always say when they're like, "Oh, that's not who I am. I haven't been that way. I grew up like this. I just not really good at doing this." I said, "Is that what you want to be?"
Exactly. Exactly.
To be
Right.
And some people will be like, "What do you mean by that?" And I'm like, "I mean, like, that's who you've been, but who do you want to be?" Like,
Yeah.
sit, I'm not the person I was because I knew I could be something else that serves me. And I became a better woman or friend to you because of it. And
Exactly.
I feel like you can't focus on who you've been. It's just the worst habit.
Absolutely. And that's because we feel like we have to, however we were raised,
Hmm.
whatever religion, the type of religion, the clothes we wore, however we were raised, we feel like we have to like transition that into our adult life, and it has to be the exact way, and it has to stay the same.
Yeah.
And even to add on to that, like I've been with my husband almost 20 years, right?
Yes. Yes.
And it's crazy because even though we're talking about that little in between, I think it starts there. But I think even after you've gotten past that in between and now you're in this great relationship, I feel like there's still going to be layers that's going to be peeling off, even years of you guys being together. You know what I mean? Because like even with us, even with me, I had a lot of trauma and I had a lot of walls. I had like, it was like an onion. Like I was completely wrapped up. Like, but even 20 years later, he
Yeah.
loves me so deeply and so much to where he is peeling off even now 20 years later, like he's peeling off more layers, and the layers he's peeled off, he's gotten down really really to the
Really.
core. Yeah, he's gotten really down to the core. And so he peeled off the hardest parts in the beginning,
Hmm.
that was really our trying times, but he stuck with it and he stayed with it, and he peeled off those harder shells and that outer layer. But even now there's still, so it's not going to be something that is going to happen overnight. It's not
Hmm.
going to be something that's going to be quick, and it's not going to be something where it's going to be like, okay,
Yeah.
now this is how it is, like, you know what I mean? It's and I think that's also because as we're growing, and I mean as we get older, we're growing, we're
Right.
maturing, you know what I'm saying? We're evolving, and what
Mhm.
I used to like 5 years ago when we started dating, I may not like now, you know what I mean? Or foods that I used to eat, I may not eat now. So, things change, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you find your identity now after the fact? Because your identity was in the relationship, was in if you had kids, whatever the case may be. But now you're out of that situation. How do you find your identity?
So I do it through music a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their outlet of expression, and I think for me, I've noticed even when I was in awful situations with exes, I would always leave a voice note for myself to remind
Mm,
myself of the day and like what I was feeling. I would write poems, and then sometimes I would write a whole song, and I would just save it there for myself. I wouldn't do much with it. It would just be kind of
mm,
a reminder.
yeah.
But then when I was finally out of it, and see, this is before there's still a little sweet spot because I had a single spot, and
Hmm.
um, I feel the single spot and now are great. Like they both were beautiful moments in my life.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
in the single spot, I was able to write a song called "After All," and it was about coming to terms that. Um, when someone doesn't love you and you're like, okay, you just understand it now and it
Yeah.
bother you. And I'm all about reflection. And recently I've written a few songs about outside of love, but just still just as important. One is called Love is Kind. I think I said
Yes,
before.
yes.
Love is Kind is a part of the new project. And what I love about the song that I didn't realize I'd love so much is it does talk a lot about our perception of love, and coming into that realization, love is what I'm gonna make it. And
Yes.
um it's like the childlike part of yourself being like, "Oh, isn't love supposed to be kind? Or isn't someone supposed to sweep me off my feet? Isn't
Right.
all the rest
Yeah. Yeah.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
it?" Mention it, no one really knows. There's no way for them to tell you what it is, really. It's it comes from your experience. You decide what makes you feel loved, and you make that real. So that's my way of, I guess, coming into who I am, is expressing those moments I've had,
Yeah.
music, um and also like revisiting my relationship with myself, and just,
Yeah.
do I like her? Is she cool? Uh,
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
I mean, am I giving her time to do what she needs to do? And it's like I talk about myself in third person a lot, because that is most the first loving act you can do, is just by acknowledging that you're a person, and
Absolutely.
that you deserve good things.
Absolutely.
Good things come once you do.
Exactly.
I hope that
Exactly.
makes sense, because I feel like that was.
No, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think the most amazing thing that you said was, as far as, I mean, all of it was good. But, speaking to yourself in third person, because I think, trying that for
Yeah.
women is really good, because it's like, it's easy to look over there and say, she looks like this, or she and it's easy for us to judge, or to assume what a certain person may be dealing with, or how their lifestyle is.
Um,
So sometimes if we put ourselves as the she,
yeah.
or over there, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
she does not deserve that, because if I can pinpoint, if I see a man grab a woman, I'll say quick, I'm like, she need to get out of that. She don't need to be doing dealing with that. You know what I mean?
For us. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So yes, we need to do it for ourselves. Put ourselves over there and be like, she doesn't deserve that. She shouldn't be going through that. I think that's an amazing thing. I think that's an amazing thing.
It's funny. I have a diary or journal. I only write it every once in a while, but when I do, I I love reading back certain parts, because I little messages for myself. So there's one page I went to, and it's like, "Hey self," like, "Hey
Hey
girl,"
girl. Right.
like, "Hey, but listen, like, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna work
Yeah.
on
I
us.
love it.
We're gonna get there." It's like, just like reflect on like what you want right now, and like it's like I'll write those things, and I'll be cracking up because I'll be cracking jokes. I think,
Yeah.
but I it's fun to make yourself laugh, and then make yourself feel safe, and then people who also make you safe end up being a part of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's all love, really. All love.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's all love. I love it. Okay, so there is a woman who is listening to this, and she feels like she is stuck in
Mhm.
this relationship that she really feels like is not for her. And she feels like
Mhm.
she feels like she deserves better, but she doesn't know how to do that, and she's a little afraid, and she's fearful
Mm.
of leaving. She's fearful of what's on the other side.
Mm.
She's fearful of what comes after, what comes next.
Mhm.
um, and so she's kind of like, she's stuck.
Yeah.
So take the time right now to talk to that woman. Whatever you feel, let her know.
Well, first of all, girl, uh, what's meant for you will not miss you. Um,
Mm.
and it won't have the opportunity to. And I think what we forget a lot is that life is fleeting. It's life is so short. There's so many beautiful things we haven't seen yet that we don't understand, that
Yes.
and had access to. And the only way you can ever know if the grass is greener is by just giving yourself the opportunity to start from scratch again. Like,
Yeah.
is where we can rebuild ourselves. That's where we can decide who we want to be. So although it seems like everything's falling apart and nothing's the same and nothing's at bay, I feel like those are the moments of rebirth. They're called growing pains because if it's hurting, it's probably helping a little too. And
Yeah.
people don't people don't give themselves the opportunity to evolve. We are so
Yeah.
used to being in the little cocoon, but listen, there's butterflies out there, and it's
Yes.
for women, you
Yes. Yes.
feel feel like you can spread your wings. I just say from now on, wherever you are, whatever situation you're in, from now on, anything that feels unsafe, unfulfilling, just start to acknowledge them now. If somebody says something to you, address it immediately. If you start
Mm.
to feel
Yes.
like from now,
Yes.
when something feels bad, be like, I don't want to do that. Allow your
Absolutely.
is, and just when things start popping up, be mindful and allow yourself to protect you from those.
Absolutely.
Acknowledge what those things are and remove yourself. It's gonna
Absolutely.
time. It's not an easy thing to do, but when your mind is made up that you are meant to be wherever you're about to go, it's worth it. The risk is worth
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
So I mean that's what I would say. I moved here from Vancouver by myself, and I knew the grass might not be greener on the other side. I knew I could fail, but I knew I would be okay.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, I feel like just let it what's the word? Go with the wind. Like when
Yeah, absolutely.
they come. I think that's the best advice is just do what you feel is your vision in your new life. Start acting like her.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see in your higher self, start acting like her. People might not like her, but you do, and
Come on. Exactly.
that's it.
Do you. Exactly. Do you. Exactly.
Girl, that's it. That's the best advice I can think of. I mean, you learn as you go, but it's okay if it hurts. You're getting there.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's okay to fail as long as you get up and try again and try again and try
I
again.
really like to fail. I know that sounds weird. I like making a fool of
It's a learning process.
myself.
Yeah.
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 As soon as I'm like, "Oop, probably shouldn't have done that." I mean, if
Right.
if you own eventually you make less and less of those self-love mistakes, you know?
Yeah.
You start to realize you laugh,
Yes.
and do your best. And that's all you can do, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Thank you for that. I normally only do one ending question like that, but this I feel has a twofold.
Okay.
So you spoke to the woman that stuck. Now, if you can speak to that woman that left, she's already left,
Ooh.
and but she's feeling like maybe I should go back. This is not working for me. Right. Right. This is not working for me. I need to go back. Now, can you speak to that woman
Yeah.
who feels like she needs to go back?
All right. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you something.
Okay.
Um, I I have some crazy stories, but I actually did speak to a woman, uh,
Mm,
and we dated the same person years ago. She had
wow.
reached out to me because she thought that we were still talking. We weren't. Um, and she asked me honestly. She's like, "We're not. I want to go back because I'm just really used to, and I'm not a jealous person, so I didn't really like him to begin with, so it was okay. But
Right, right.
we spoke, and I remember telling her, I was like, if think you got to understand, there's a why for everything.
Yes.
Um, we don't leave for no reason, you know.
Mm.
We don't leave
Yeah.
because it's a Sunday and we felt like it. We're
Right.
we're leaving because something doesn't feel safe. Even if you're wrong, he's wrong, you're not happy where you are. And I always say that whether he did the bad thing or you just don't trust him, the fact of the matter, you don't trust him. Uh,
Yeah.
and you left because you wanted to seek out what else is there. You're not going to see it immediately. You know,
Yeah.
trees, so many roots beneath the ground. There are roots
Mm.
and nobody sees them. Nobody
Yeah.
sees them, but they are the makings of an entire tree that's been around for thousands, hundreds of years. And
Right.
that's what we are. We are the roots. We are in the making of this amazing tree, this life force. And we don't we can't get to the surface and get scared, you know?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
try to see what kind of sprouts are gonna come out of that. And they're not gonna happen right away, but just know that if you go back, it's just the same loop. But if you stay out, you have the possibility of something beyond what you ever expected. And I hope
Yes.
that the stories that I've told, or even just some of the things that I've mentioned, allow people to believe that there are things out there that
Yes.
will allow you to succeed. If you're afraid, you're in a place where you're fearful and you think you want to go back, just know you're in the right spot. That's where
Yeah.
we all go there.
Yeah.
And then somehow it takes a second, but when it happens, nothing can stop it. So,
Right.
but every time you go back, you go 10 steps backwards and you never get back, never get to the next
Yeah.
that part. And some people do that for years. They go back and back and back 10 years later, and they may as well have gone and done that thing. So it's, yeah, if you're considering going back to someone, just tell yourself, give it a few years,
Yeah.
give it
Yeah.
years. If I still love you in two years and life hasn't made something beautiful for me outside of this, then okay. But
Yeah.
but give yourself the opportunity to find out. And I think that's where my advice would go for that person.
Absolutely, absolutely. And give yourself time
Yes.
to really find what love really is and what it means to you. What it really is, like what love really is, not what you've
Yep.
witnessed, not what you've grown up with, not what you've seen, but what is love really to you? What is that really? Give your time to learn that. And if that man or whomever that partner does
Mhm.
not match up with what you've now figured out what love is, then no, I'm sorry.
Right.
I cannot go back. I'm sorry. Absolutely.
We all know,
Why
you know. We all
exactly, exactly, exactly. Well, I definitely appreciate this time and I appreciate you.
know.
This was an amazing time. I appreciate it. Um, I want to give you some time now to plug and
Uh-huh.
tell the people where they can find you and what you got going on.
Okay. You can find me. Okay. Instagram. I definitely have an Instagram. Liv Averie, Avrie music, and that's LIV in the front. To Live Music. Um, you can find me on all streaming platforms. Live Avery if you want to listen to some music. And I mean, I'm starting a company called Sound Tonic. Going to help artists and just women in the industry as well connect,
Wow.
because there's a middleman, and we want to pass the middleman. We want to be able to be in safe spaces to create. It's it's a male dominated industry, so That's something I really want to
Yes.
push. It's just allowing people to feel safe in spaces, men and women. But yeah, that's my plug. I mean, contact me, message me. Um,
Yes.
I'd love to hear from you guys.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. This was amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Um, he like plays me a song, and like I'm like, wow, he's such like a beautiful human. Like he's such a nice guy. Like, but I wasn't used to that, so I didn't pay attention to it. I kind of was like, men
Yeah. Yeah.
that are too good, they're not real. They're not real.